6:30, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to add one thing under 9.5 old business, discussion, possible action. Did not think the team made said that. Any other corrections?
I would like to add 10.5 under new business. Before you is the request for council action from the fire department. I'd like to add it to 10.5 under new business, the request for council action from the fire department. They had appointment of a new officer.
All right, so with her addition to 9.5. Now it's time to function to approve. So moved. Second. Dan, second by Devine. Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Next, we'll move on to public forum. This is an opportunity for citizens to present items to the council that are not on the agenda. Each presentation is limited to 3 minutes and a maximum of 15 minutes to set aside. If your item needs follow-up from the city, staff will arrange time for that. If you'd like to step forward in public forum, please make your way to the podium, state your name and address, and your concerns.
Now time to talk about property next line. Is that a little different time?
It will be discussed at and forward.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure I didn't lose my.
11.2.
11.2. Right. So I'm being if anybody from the public that would like to step forward and speak to an item that's not on the agenda. Well, it's for a third and final time. Is there anybody that would like to step forward? Okay. Item number 5, the sheriff's update. We have representatives from the sheriff's department here tonight.
Well, discussion. If we don't have someone here, that happens frequently, and it's been like that over the years. I understand that they're out there doing something, taking care of the bad guys. I guess I don't have a problem with that. But you know, get complaints. I think we all get complaints from constituents on different things that we need to direct towards them. How would staff like that? I mean, would you like us just to forward them to you and you forward them on to the chief deputy?
Yeah,
What's the correct way of doing it?
I will take ownership that I did not call their department to say, just a reminder that we are here tonight. So, because I want to know, since January, they've been attending each meeting, so.
This is a new guy. Too.
Yeah.
Like he was wanted to hear from us, so.
So,
Yeah, I'll do, I had one that I really wanted to talk to him.
okay, yes, if you could.
Ready on to item number 6, the department. We'll have any questions, concerns about the department. Committee updates. Library.
Dan and I attended library. There was, just discussion about some ongoing maintenance things going on at the library. Things are going well. Brock has a handle on some solutions moving forward, and we've been meeting bi-monthly, which seems to be working. Anything else?
The only other interesting thing that I thought was that we learned that the library headquarters has all sorts of usage metrics that we can ask to see. Door counters, what gets checked out, what services get used. So we're, some of that. Some of that's usage, yeah.
They have been doing that for a period of time. Yeah.
Stop ordinance review committee. This Monday. I think the primary topic there was for fee schedule. Purpose of discussion about a filling and grading permit ordinance for currently have it in the shoreline district right now. We're headlines for that, but we don't have. So that discussion will be had. Future ordinance, right? Ordinance from that. I'm assuming.
The discussion about the IPMC came back on. Get to look at that again, line by line. See what we can do there.
That's all I have for.
Well, I guess I'm not disappointed, but I really wanted some time spent on assessment policies and stuff. And I can understand where this looks like it's probably a job that we need to assign to someone or somebody or some company. I would like to see us hire a consultant and get that policy reviewed and give us some options. We cannot, with the costs of everything going through the roof, we cannot sit by and just accept that and accept that we started doing these street projects and everybody in the future from the last couple on just getting hammered because of the costs. And I don't feel that it's equal. I mean, we have people that are on streets just because they're on 10th Street. It's not their fault that it's a main freeway and that it gets used by a lot of people. Yet they're paying the assessments on it. I think we need to find a different way of spreading that cost out. And there are options, but I don't think us looking at it individually, we're going to find that. I think we need to get some help on this. So I'd love to make a motion that we direct staff to give us some options on achieving that by finding either a company or a person. I've got a couple in mind that I would like to talk to and see if they're interested. And that's if we don't do it this time, I'd like to make sure it's on the agenda for next council. And it's not on the topic, but we are talking about the ordinance review committee. So
I was a director, but I was
Kind of laid out the ordinance review committee too, was that because we decided that it was too big of a task or an ask to come in staffers, city and bring in someone from outside to review it.
so it doesn't end up another project that just ends up in it's just kind of to a point where it was discussed again, it's past any of our pay grades, exactly how to step.
water and sewer charges, that type of stuff. It's another one that we didn't reach out for that. So I think this is one we need to reach out for because our staff has had enough to concentrate this on this. So do I need to bring that back to the next council meeting for an agenda that we hire a consultant?
Yeah, I have it on here. It'll be on the next agenda.
Put it on the next agenda.
I'm curious, is that something that SEH can do with all the different areas that they work in? Seen other policies out there that can provide options, or is it something that we kind of completely separate? It's something.
In the past, when we talked to Greg, he does have ideas what other cities have done. Ours is pretty standard, you know, there's not the new wheel that's been invented that makes everything perfect and expenses different. So I don't think it's worth ignoring, but I don't think there's any magic. It's gonna be work in order to find something that works well for our city.
See if it's, yeah, I agree if SEH can take it on. And Greg has been pretty front with it. If it's something that they can tackle or want to tackle. We should look at some of the other consultants of the city planner and of worlds that we've discussed.
Okay, we'll let it go. The next meeting.
Yeah, don't mind, we'll just swing back through, we're just doing our committee updates on these things. Totally fine. Civic Center.
I wasn't there.
No, you went to Civic, I went to Hilltop.
Oh. Too many hockey organizations. That's great. Civic Center Board has been given a gift. They've got close to $500,000, just shy of $500,000 grant to, it's called Community Facility Projects Grant. We're awarded that. The money has to be spent by end of 2026. And so virtually what it does is it tells the school district that the ALC will definitely happen at some point. Because where the ALC is on that building, in the Civic Center building, the ALC was actually designed as a locker room area and showers and that kind of stuff, bathrooms. And that was built that way with the plumbing in the wall and stuff, but it was finished off classroom. They did convert one of the meeting rooms at the end into a temporary locker room, but this will allow them to actually completely remodel the inside of the whole building, make it usable year round, air conditioning and heat. They have heat now, but they would have better heat. So that was voted on, and it was kennel and nothing go that route. So that's something that the citizens will be seeing. It's also going to do a couple things for the community. It'll give us a building. One thing that we'll be doing is putting in a new set of retractable bleachers that will allow them to open up a worldwide area. Right now, they can retract the bleachers, but they're very difficult to do. These will be modern and it's 150 pounds just for the bleacher. And give them some areas to make that open arena area more usable. So they're working with the school districts to expand what they can do for sports, because there's always a shortage of courts and practice areas. So that'll be a big win-win for the community. And they're open to anybody that thinks they want to use a big building. Talk to them and see if they got the ability to buy it. That's all.
Next would be Hilltop Committee.
Hilltop, they gave me homework to ask council to share their vision of what they see in Hilltop. So that's just something for you to think about and let me know what council's vision is for Hilltop.
Fair District.
We met last week at the fire hall. The fire district committee is made up of one city council member, four of the main townships, Kegama, Pine, Shangri-La, City Rock Creek, and Royalton. And we interviewed candidates for doing the shared services study, which will be started. All this whole process has been kind of pushed back because the state fire marshal's office is behind on a lot of stuff. So we'll have to apply for an extension just because we'll never get it done in the time frame they originally had set up for it. And we shouldn't have any trouble getting that extension, but right now, well, we did choose one of the interviewers that was, it's called Triad Paradigm or Paradigm, there you go. And, they'll be doing the proposal for the sheriff's services study. That'll come back in a few months, probably several. Get a complete report from them. The benefits of putting our district together with the townships. And if not, it'll also give us some insight on things that we can improve upon. And we can change to make our fire department better, even if it doesn't pay financially to merge everybody together into fire districts. So there's a lot of positives going to come out of it, even if, and the grant was $50,000. We share percent with, it's 5%. So you get split up our costs, it's probably going to be $1,600. Yes.
Or less.
Or less.
Yeah, 1283.
Yes.
I think Marcy has the exact figure.
It's in that ball. That's all I have.
Any further discussion on any updates? We'll cruise back to item number 5, the sheriff's updates. We have a sheriff's deputy here.
Oh,
I didn't know what building you guys were in, so I was running all around town, so I apologize.
No, I apologize for not reaching out to you.
Okay.
That's good that you found us.
Yeah,
we can run, but we can't.
yeah, pretty much. Don't run either. Just two really big things that happened. We had a little incident over at Robinson Park over here. Some juveniles had just knocked over a picnic table. Parents were there, pretty much heard of that behavior pretty much immediately. Nothing was damaged. I had a conversation with them pretty much regarding city property. It seemed to go pretty well. And then prom was last weekend. No issues there. Everybody behaved themselves and nothing really happened. As regards to the crosswalk violations, I've been attempting to move my stationary patrol up and down 61 a little bit better. Haven't really noticed anything. What I have noticed is people are walking around a lot more at night now that the weather's getting better. So please be aware that there are people walking around up and down Main Street or across Main Street at night. With that being said, we have also made several traffic stops regarding headlights and taillights just completely not being on. Please, 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 please make sure if you're driving at night to turn your headlights and taillights on. It's a big safety thing, not only for you, for everybody else. And even just having a headlight out can severely diminish your ability to see it. So please make sure that's on. If you think your headlights should be on because it's getting a little too dark, just turn them on. It's better. People can see you. It's more. Other than that, there really hasn't been a whole lot going on. Concern, no areas of concern for us really. Have you guys noticed anything in the past month?
I think I don't know if I talked to you or if I talked to my neighborhood. I had several young people running around on these little scooters that Walmart sells, little gasoline engines and no helmets, no shoes. And
I don't believe I was working.
yeah, probably weren't. I did call back and talk to the dispatcher and give them the address where it came out of.
Okay.
And so I think they got that. And I got a call today on 4th Street. Residents was upset that they thinks people are traveling a little bit too fast on 4th Street. And maybe at that, just kind of watch that and see. I think a lot of it's during school times and stuff when they're trying to get around real fast.
Yep.
Make some maneuver to pick up the kids. So,
And
some of it just tell them.
Yeah. And my schedule did shift from starting from 3, I now start at 2. So I will be here a little bit earlier, so some of that kind of school time stuff I should be. Sometimes I would get down here, like 3:15 and school's pretty much out of them all. So, I mean, even today I was sitting down by the high school and there was a lot more people down there, so I just had to make sure nobody was speeding. Yeah, nobody was speeding or anything. It's just crossing the crosswalk unless it's really good. So.
I appreciate the verbal update about the crosswalks. I think that's really nice that you took our request serious and then came back and told us what you found. So thank you for that.
I have, with the weather getting nice, it seems like there's people that are either exiting Pine City to the north and using it to take out really fast. Out of town, or coming in pretty fast into town from the north to the south. So either coming in fast and also very loud and vehicle noises. Is what the complaints are going in. So get a lot of them.
Loud exhausts.
It seems like it's kind of between that 9 o'clock and 10:30 p.m. time.
Okay. Definitely looking at that.
1:30 a.m. to 4 a.m. Right. Follow up for the sheriffs. Thank you for being here.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
If anything comes up, please call us. Let us know.
Now you know where we're at.
Yes. I mean, hey, is it gonna be here next month? Well, okay, because I went to your old building and then I went to the new one and I was very confused. All over.
So sorry. I'm so sorry.
I don't know. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Eight on our agenda items. Corrections or.
Sometimes.
Well, second that with the comment.
Gina, and a second from Dave. Dave, what's your?
Well, I'm the organizational chart. I think it looks good, but just so we can adjust that if we want to.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's nothing that we have to go to the committee on.
Yeah, mostly this was a name change. There was a couple name changes we had done with the union, so. Mhm.
Hearing none, we have a. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Right, next we will move on to old business, number 9.1, 2025 fee schedule.
Ordinance went over this last week. So there's a red line version of what was changed, not terribly many, but this was updated through ordinance and brought forward for council to decide to approve.
We spent a lot of time, just so everyone knows, we spent a lot of time going through line by line to come up with the red line version. And a lot of what the genesis was is there seems to be some fees in here that are just us collecting money to collect money. And there's some less fees that we can use, like dog license, like duplicate dog license. It's not a lot of money, but it's a chunk of money that somebody doesn't have. We learned through the bad check fees that there's a state limit on what you can charge, so we changed that. We updated the data request stuff. The street opening was one that we discussed for a while and decided to change that to actual cost because those figures change so quickly and there's some dynamic. I was gonna try to assign it. So I'll stop talking, but we spent a lot of time, a lot of really great discussion trying to come up with the best fee schedule.
So we'd like to make a motion. Discussion before a motion is made.
Well, I guess I'll make the motion. But make some comments.
I'll second the motion. Dave and a second. Further discussion.
Well, I guess, we asked for the study of the sewer and water. We're listening to the commercial businesses complain about the rates that we have now. To take a raise on that at this point without a study, I think I'd rather just, I could see, my idea would be we accept everything except for the rate increases on the sewer and water for residential and commercial. Everything else as far as what's on the fee schedule, I could see it back. We need to wait for our study to those two items.
Start feeling at ordinance.
Yeah.
As well, so I don't know, I believe these are the rates that are in
Mhm.
the schedule for water are going to be the same as they. Same as they.
Okay, so you wouldn't be, you wouldn't be right. No, those would be great. So I wouldn't have a problem. Just
So your motion stands.
Just motions and let's vote up.
The only other discussion point was there was talk about if we can have things potentially, one of those things was we're gonna talk to Welly at first. We can charge for the fire service
Right.
for creating.
For the fire services for landing, right? That was one of them.
I don't know what that fee would look like. That's an interesting conversation. So I think during the construction process, I think they're gonna close down any lanes up there. Honestly, what we should probably get is kind of update as to whether or not they're ever planning on opening something up again up there. Maybe it's never gonna be a problem again. Or maybe we can encourage them to put in a facility that doesn't quite require.
How many times here do they do pass through them? A lot. One time, 10 times? 30 times?
There's quite a few times we land helicopters up there, but there's a lot of the time it's, the ambulances brought the patient there to get hauled out. Sometimes it's from the clinic, so I'd have to pull and get data pulled together of where the person originated.
Just thinking out of the box, why don't we take an average of the last 5 years, figure out how much that is and shoot them a price for just once a year cost, just like we do with our legal fees. You know, just give them a, here's our price, we'll do it every time. Price every. We can reevaluate it if we want to. That makes it easy for them, that makes it easy for us.
But again, if they, why not have it up there?
Well,
Yeah. I should find out that too.
I'll take some of the schedule on. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is an ordinance. We do need a roll call.
All right, let's go back then. I'm Mr. Aye. Tina?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Kyle? Yes. Miles?
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item number 9.2, meeting ordinance 2.08.020.
So I brought meeting scheduling up at the last council meeting as a council concern, and I brought it up at the start of the year. I'm getting a lot of feedback that we're taking action on dates on meetings that are supposed to be our work plan sessions. The last meeting we had, we had almost 0 attendance after about 10 minutes. It was a long meeting. It is not convenient for taxpayers. It doesn't seem like our turnout is in the evenings. I think we've had a better turnout for both residents and council participation. But if you go back to looking at having it the first Wednesday and the third Wednesday of each month, going forward, and moving that time down to 6 p.m. instead of 6:30.
Doesn't work for me, but. It's like work. Mostly.
And I understand that.
So, would you like to make that motion, Kyle? Is that, should we be looking at the ordinance first and discussing meeting times?
Well, the ordinance says that it can be voted on by the newly elected council, the last one. So we also changed the April meeting to reflect time that was convenient for the city administrator. If you can pull the meeting up, convenient for the city administrator should be for our.
So other pieces of the ordinance that need to be changed, just language. to City hall, of course. It's gonna take, it's changing.
That has to be done before we.
No, I'm just looking at the ordinance, that's.
Because we don't have because we moved out of that building, we don't have a city hall in the ordinance of city hall.
The whole meeting shall be in city hall.
You know, and we can just add or
An address.
facility, but just for the record, I am still in favor of continuing on with the first Wednesday and the third Thursday and holding ourselves true to keeping the third Thursday more of a workshop meeting. And keeping more of the structured voting and whatnot on Wednesday evening. And if that's not workable for the staff to kind of arrange those agendas like that, then I think you should just let us know. And then we have to follow our own. But that's just what I'm a fan of. You're a fan of 2 evenings. And that's what-
I really don't have.
So 3 people talked, 3 different opinions.
I still like the one time a month, but I don't think we're quite there. We have a lot of things that seem to be on the horizon. Yes, I would like to make that as the official motion that we set it in June so that people have a time to adjust. That it's the first Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m. and the third Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m. Unless it falls on a holiday or ends up being 2 weeks back to back.
Just for the record, I won't be at that regularly at that meeting. So require me to take regular time off after 8 years. My bank's getting low.
Is this interfere with any other school work?
Yeah, but we did the surveys.
The school board, I believe, does do the first Wednesday, and although they just changed one, is it the first Monday and third Wednesday, I believe is what they.
So they don't share our mutual Wednesday any longer. However, the third Thursday would be when the school board meets as well. Yeah, third Wednesday is when the school board meets.
I believe the school board actually amended to meeting the third Monday.
So it's both Mondays.
It's, yeah, I think they went back to the old schedule.
So no Wednesday school
As
board
far as
meeting.
I'm aware.
Okay.
Your motion was to move to first and third Wednesday at 6 p.m. starting at 6 p.m. starting in June. Something like that. Second, Dan.
Is that, do I have to get kicked out of council because I can't make that meeting? Every other week.
It could be.
I think to keep it in perspective though, we've had 4 daytime meetings. It's supposed to be the time that you're best available. Your attendance at evening meetings has been better than daytime.
With my son got married.
Hearing none, does this need to be a roll call vote?
It is an ordinance, yeah.
So what are we changing? Well, how is the ordinance?
Well, the ordinance is gonna have to be changed at the ordinance committee. Right now, we're just following that.
Okay,
It's whatever the last line says.
Set by motion duly made and pass at a council meeting.
We did discuss this at ordinance too. And did discuss the first line being changed so that it would be January would be when the schedule would be set, not set.
So we can't vote on
No, we can vote on it.
it. Change the date.
We can, the way the ordinance is now, we can,
Oh,
but the ordinance in changing, cleaning up the language, that was one of the other concerns we had as a council was in December, the council before sets the calendar for the next year. So instead at the first meeting of January, calendar gets set.
and also do your committee changes and whatnot.
Right. Housekeeping.
Do, but historically, we've done committee changes every election. So every other.
Well, in the spirit of trying to convert it to a business meeting and a meeting, we take care of other things. So I'd be in favor of people.
And I think it's whatever works for the council, I mean, it is our schedule and the county seems to have attendance. I think regularly scheduled meetings are most important and following our own plan to, not make major decisions if the public can't be there. That affects the public.
I guess the only thing that I would say is it doesn't really, to me either way, I prefer I burn through probably 4 hours of PTO during our day meetings, so I would prefer not to do that, but as I chose to run, I chose to be elected, so that's my burden to bear. I deal with that, so that doesn't really affect me either way. I would say that we've had pretty good attendance in the morning meetings, but we definitely do have better attendance in the early meetings, I would say. If we could, I feel like we've been doing a fairly decent job at trying to eat towards just doing the work groups that are work session meetings. We've had a lot on our plate here the past few months, so I feel like we've done pretty well considering to make that morning meeting, work session meeting. I guess I'm indifferent to the situation at this point, but hearing one council member she's not gonna be able to make most of our meetings does cause us concern, so that's, thank you, throw that out there.
So if I start skipping on the daytime meetings, they're gonna swell. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, it's not based off of our schedule. I've made it work on time. It's based off of our residents, our taxpayers' schedule. The complaint keeps coming up. We wanted to do the survey, even though I thought it was stupid. We only got 30 complaints, but the survey also. Next time.
The survey also was highly in favor of one meeting a month as well.
That is true.
Because this is asking now staff to attend 2 evening meetings on top of our already full schedules.
And I made that point.
At the end of the day, staff works for the city of Pine City. They work for the taxpayers. The taxpayers come in here, they have complaints. Their complaints, their concerns have to be listened to. If we want to adjust it so that staff only has to come to 1 council meeting a month, that's fine. But I'm not really gonna listen to the complaining that council member or that staff is complaining because they have to come to another nighttime meeting during the week. I'm sorry, I don't care. At the end of the day, it's about our taxpayers, it's about our residents, that they can't come in and speak on opinions because we want to blindside them and we want to have daytime meetings where we take action. No matter how much we try and have this work group session where we just discuss it, that's what we're gonna try and do with the last one. It didn't happen. We ended up taking a bunch of action and I got a lot of complaints saying, would have been really nice to be able to come in and talk about my concerns. We're not meeting that concern. We're doing what's convenient for us, not what's convenient for our taxpayers.
Have a concern. Dan knows that the council won't hear me on the why. Put all in favor. Still got that happened last time. That wasn't put on the agenda. That, I paid my taxes, I'm resident here, but you should ignore me? I don't think so, Kyle, no. I don't ignore you, you need to. But they don't need it. You can't make it here, 100 meetings, hey, no, please. You get paid to sit there and listen to me. You ask every day, I don't care. You will listen to me. They tell you too.
Let's have a discussion about this. So,
Yeah, figure it out, let me know.
right, we've got a motion second on the floor to change the meeting time. 6 p.m. on the 13th of June. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Is this an ordinance? Is this technically the ordinance?
I would do a roll call vote with this.
Okay, David. Aye. Dina?
No,
Dave?
No,
Kyle?
Yes.
I will also vote no. Fails. With that, no, I will say that I think we need to continue to strive to not take any formal action from morning meetings and stick to the fact that it would be a worker only.
That sounds great. I won't be having this. It has proven possible to not take action on Thursday morning meetings. We're cheating our taxpayers by having essentially 12 sessions a year that they can have actually taken. I agree that work groups are a good idea, but as we've discussed, we have taxpayers that want to participate. We have, yeah, it just, it's ugly. I don't know. It's shady. It really is. Because we keep saying, and we can't. And it's the amount of business that we have to deal with is why we can't. And yeah, I have to adjust my schedule too to make more meetings. It costs me money to come to every morning meeting, just like it costs everybody money to come to a morning meeting. I do it. There's gonna be some that I won't be able to make, but yeah,
And if you know in advance, you can attend.
well, but some of them, things you don't know in advance, have the work for that.
If it is gonna be a work group meeting, let's say even before the council meeting, also is gonna have a discussion, there's not gonna be any residents there. We're gonna publicly talk about our opinion.
No, like I said, the county figures out how to do it 2-day meetings, and, that's.
County commissioners also collect a much higher salary and have much different scheduling.
I'm
However-
just saying, as far as serving the public, it's.
Both county meetings are during the day and they're for the entire county. So that's affecting many more residents than our city. And they're doing both their meetings during the day.
Right, and if you look at the attendance at county commissioner meetings too, they're not very well attended.
People can also.
Maybe we need to throw it on the referendum. Was when we should.
I think we did that.
Populace did speak by voting on the council. Apparently, we don't care about the taxpayer.
That was a small percentage. That wasn't a very large.
Okay, so
I guess I'm pretty sure.
we voted on
Yes, you,
before.
oh, have you before? Right now you just did.
Did we vote on the morning meeting the day once before?
If we're going back to that point, that technically in January it was 4-1 and it was changed by 3-0. And I don't know that that's a valid vote because you have less votes than the people that approved.
To me, I feel like this is a silly hill to die on. I seen the ordinance on here, I discussed the ordinance, I didn't understand we were gonna propose a time change. I could apply at my work to change my permanent schedule, to, figure this out differently. I work for the state of Minnesota, it takes a minute to get things changed, but I feel like you guys should, just accept the vote and move on too,
Well, to be fair, I did bring this up at the last council. I understand you were busy and everybody else is busy. We weren't there. Brought us to put it on everyone's
busy. Something else,
It was voted for one beginning of the year, but then it came back to the ordinance.
which it would have been in within the realm of the ordinance. So
Right.
I don't know. I don't think that this is transparent with our taxpayers. They're taking action. They're not allowed to be around. If you can live with this, then fine, but I think it's shady and not transparent.
All right, next, let's move on to item number 933.
This is carried forward from last month. Dan, did you wanna?
Sure, I haven't had to come up with maps or anything, but I've spent some more time talking to people in the public and coming up with some ideas. And there's a lot of idea of 20 miles an hour in all residential speed light. I spent some time kind of looking at different haul routes that we could identify for commercial trucks and for dump trucks. There's gonna need to be support for that to happen in the county. Lowering speed limits from, say, Fawn Meadows down a little bit. I guess for me, on the next agenda, maybe some more action, but 2 agendas from now, we have some more actionable items on there. Maybe we can have a discussion about it. The next one, take some action on the fall meeting. What you guys are hearing back from your social circles, good, bad, and different.
I noticed one thing, that the school buses have changed their staging. Get the stage on 10th. But the problem with 10th now is we have a bike lane, which I'm very much in favor of. And so they can't park there because people are using it. So now they go park north and south on east and west on 6th Avenue, which makes, to me, make more sense anyway. It's a wider street than have that problem. They took care of that, but we need, I don't know, how do we designate truck routes? I guess I know. I can bring it to Public Works, we can talk about it, I can go out and try to get some information.
It has a lot to, mostly to do with signage and the creation and recognition that that's what it is. So that when people are putting things into their ways or routing or whatever, unless you tell a commercial vehicle that they can't travel on a certain roadway, they can travel on a certain road. We're defining where we want commercial vehicle traffic to go or local access traffic to go. You can sign that. And even maybe ordinance even. We just have to come up with what we want.
So you think that needs to go to ordinance? Is that what you're saying?
I think we just need to come up with so like I said, for the next meeting, get some maps together and figure out what exactly we want to do or where we want to go with it, and then be able to move forward. I don't know if it's Public Works that moves it forward, ordinance, or if it's us. It's kind of great.
A lot of it's convenience, the pop trucks, the holiday delivery trucks. We're gonna have more of that. With all these and stuff, but they probably won't be as much of a problem, but I know they do it for convenience. Some of the truckers will tell you they don't like taking a corner on hillside in 61. It's just a bugger trying to get around that left turn with the turn lane in there. So I don't know, maybe it's conversation.
Hydrant back, and move the sidewalk farther.
But yeah, that's county road, so.
That's county road, so I mean, to tell them they have to take that road, you should be able to take it, but you got a 53-foot trailer, a long tractor. I've driven plenty of them, but you need to do it there.
That yellow curve is all black.
Yeah.
Now, it's-
There's some few bad signs there, and there's a reason.
It could be that they continue on and go around by the college and come back. I agree with Mr. Swanson. I don't think it should be going through residential zones. Too much pedestrian walkway, and people aren't expecting that kind of stuff, so. I agree.
Some of them even take to Second Avenue, they go all the way down 10th, all the way to Second, and then go down towards the liquor store. That shouldn't be, we shouldn't have those residential.
And I guess my justice behind it, again, it's just that I have heard, and I know that others have heard too, that this has been a problem. And for me, the problem is only going to continue to compound, like you're saying, we have more businesses coming in and down, because our growth and development, housing vehicle, it's just going to be a lot more of that.
I mean, we understand the construction, we understand the delivery trucks, they have to do that. That's the only one that really should be there.
Not cutting through town because
That's
fast.
because it's faster.
9.4 is the plan.
Maury, do you have something prepared at all?
I've been working with Greg on it. I have talked to the chief a little bit about the kind of priorities. Right now, we do not have the money in the budget. to even replace one. So, yes, maybe looking for some direction on how to proceed, or if we proceed in the budget process and focus for next year.
Can Greg Moore give us an estimate of the total cost? Or is that even
He
possible?
emailed me yesterday, the day before, stated that on average, each hydrant would cost about 17,000 give or take. There's gonna be more, there's gonna be more expensive ones and probably maybe a little less expensive. And on concrete. Where the utilities that are surrounding, like.
What was the total number that needed to?
Well, there were 4 hydrants.
There's 4 hydrants and then there's also a little water wick on 8th Avenue southwest of 7th Street.
Well, we're working on that with SCHS.
That's a problem too. It's a water problem. So
Are we sitting out with our mill and overlay, our sidewalk maintenance and our sidewalk replacement?
The mill and overlay. What's the idea? Forward or sidewalk, I really don't have a solid plan for sidewalk replacement. It's to me. Well, we got some downtown that we could possibly fix. But if we fix the sidewalk, then we're fixing curb that's been overlaid. And our assessment policy does not actually follow that.
So how much money is in the sidewalk?
Like I said, there's 34 new, 34 replacement.
I guess my opinion would be that would be a starting block for getting those hydrants replaced, for reallocating that. The other places, can we take the water system, hydrant? Pay for it as the water system maintenance.
yeah, we're talking about. Why does not make it a total package?
It's a possibility.
Yeah, and that Greg said that could be, we could even have it as like an alternate to the contractors that.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I remember that now.
Equipment, all that stuff.
Yeah, we probably get a better price, yeah. So which way do we want to go? Right, staff, or Frank can get a, tie that in with the blue system. That acceptable.
So see if it's possible, and if not possible, look at whatever.
So that's what you pray with.
After,
I'd be happy to make the motion and all together.
the water loop is gonna be. I believe so.
Or did you beat that?
As you're the hydrants done over these years. So how long does it take, like, say you're a hydrant? Shipping in a week, 2 week ship?
I don't even know. I have to check. We haven't had to buy one for ourselves without the project being attached to it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I've got a motion for Dave to add the hydrant replacement to the water loop project. What does that mean? Also, I get second, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please. Opposed? Well, great, next up is 9.5.
Quick update would be that we are still waiting for the purchase agreement to be finalized and then presented to the potential buyer.
Those are in the purchase agreement.
It's being done through the community development director.
wondering if that we should have attorney do this, but the council approved it back in the start of April. It is now a month later. And I have concerns that if I'm with that it's not done, then it's not getting done. So we'd like to have some kind of deadline set in place so that this gets done and it's not just a can kick down the road. I'm pretty sure all the developers said that they want to start as soon as possible. And this is not as soon as possible. Their priorities are a little screwed up. I don't know that the community developer should be writing the purchase agreement. I think it should be done by the city attorney.
It's gonna be reviewed by the city attorney, but it's being written up by her.
So can we set a deadline on the next council meeting to have a
The Thursday meeting.
chamber meeting?
Further discussion on that. Thanks again, Brock. Thank you. It's 99.9% of the way empty and ready for a key turnover. That's fantastic. Okay, we'll move on to new business. Item number 244, take home vehicle loans.
This was a council concern that I brought up last meeting. Definitely want to get rid of the 20-mile radius. At that point, it's not an emergency. It's just that take your vehicle home and be convenient policy. At least it needs to go down to 10 miles radius. Go ahead, Mark.
So when we devised this plan, we looked at that very closely with council and different committees. We do have a public works employee that lives right at about close to 20 miles and is on call once every 5 weeks. Does not take vehicle home other than
How long does it take that employee to get to the city during an emergency?
about 25 minutes.
I don't think it really constitutes an emergency at that point.
We have 1 hour to respond to a call.
I still don't agree with the 20-mile policy. I think it needs to be shortened.
I know what we do at the county for the squad cars is if you put it within county limits, you can take your squad car home. It's a little bit different situation. But if it's outside of the county limits, take your squad car home, it stays at your substation. So that may be an option, but I'm assuming it's a public works employee has tools in their truck, has the appropriate equipment in their truck to respond to what they need to, so they're not having to. They didn't have the vehicle at home, they'd be running in the public works garage, grabbing the tools, grabbing everything they need, grabbing that vehicle, and then heading to the site versus.
The on-call truck is a typical public works stock, all the tools. How long does it take to walk in that door, grab the truck, pick up all for that public works?
What's the main concern for you? Private uses or what?
I don't have any concern.
Well, I guess two of them, I'm gonna ask Kyle too. What's the main concern?
I know there's a concern that of what take-home vehicle is used for. I know there's been lots of questions on who gets to take home a take-home vehicle from the city and who doesn't. Like the policy on what it's put in place for emergency, which is the fire chief, the public works, and the on-call employee. I do not think that a 20-mile radius constitutes as an emergency at that point, because that's pretty full. Is it open to a pretty wide area? Some of that could extend out further than 25 minutes.
Who built in the hour more in this period?
That's on the union contract. It's been there.
Okay, so that
It's
is
very consistent with
okay,
others.
that answers my question. I was just wondering where that came from. Okay. And I guess that seems like it's something that we need to put on have our administrator put on the list of things to talk about when we go into union negotiations.
Yeah, 'cause I didn't know that was on the union contract, so.
I've seen it. So, now we do. And so I guess my thoughts would be we just So just wait until we hash this over with you. Sounds like that's what has to happen. Can't change what we assigned and said we were gonna allow, so.
Well, we can. It says in the policy that the city has to be approved by the city administrator and has to be approved by the council. Council, the city administrator has the ability to change it. It also says in there that it's not part of their benefits or their wages.
What do you think the union's gonna say? They're not gonna agree with what you just said. If I was the union rep, I wouldn't either, so. I can say this is the way it's been, this is the way we've leave it, and if you want to renegotiate it, let's renegotiate it, but let's just not change it on our level, just because.
So do we represent the union now, or do we represent the taxpayers in the city of Pine City?
That's not what I said, Kyle, but I understand what you're saying. I think there's a gray area somewhere. We obviously, we sign union contracts, and we're supposed to be fiscally responsible, and we are. This maybe needs to be changed, but it needs to be changed at that level.
Would end up coming back to the council and change it.
Right, well, it will, yeah.
Not asking for an action right now, but it would be something that I'd like to have reviewed for a change in miles. I don't think that is an emergency at that point. I'm gonna be completely disagreement with you, Marty, so. The other thing is that I'd like to stick to this policy on who gets to take home vehicles and make sure that other vehicles aren't getting taken home without either the city administrator, well, with the city administrator and the council. If it's a union contract situation, is there a way that maybe we can represent some sort of mileage reimbursement for employees that don't take home vehicles, that don't have the ability to get back and forth from work on taxpayer gas and taxpayer funded vehicle as a benefit negotiating piece, or it shouldn't be a compensation piece to be able to take home a vehicle. A take home vehicle is not a burden, it's a burden. You have a responsibility for emergency services. At the end of the day, you choose a job, you get there, you figure out a means to get there. It's not the taxpayer's responsibility to pay for you to get to and from work.
Now move on to item number 10.2, Quincy Township Fire District.
All right, on 10.2, this is the request for council action, because at our last township fire district meeting, resolution was already done in the year 23. So we are committed to this. The proposal is to accept the triad paradigm. I'm with Dave. I can't, paradigm. So therefore the percentages, all the backup on his presentation is attached here. The request is that we fulfill what we promised we would do in 2023. And our percentage is attached to the request, which is 1,200. Is it 83? 83.
One of the questions, I wasn't able to be at that. So one of the questions I had asked, what is going to be the time allotment for city staff for information that's needed? Did we come up with numbers on that?
No, it was vaguely addressed. Tom was there and Dave was there as well. They mentioned several times that city staff is going to be involved in gathering the data that they need. I made an estimate of what because it's a 9-month study. The completion will be done June of next year. So it's going to be spread out basically over a year.
He thought 1 or 2 visits.
Yeah. But then he said phone calls too. So.
Yeah, he thought he could get anything else. But 1 or 2 visits, he could get all of it.
I'm not necessarily opposed to the study. We already have a very good solution. I think the people that need this solution is the townships, not us. But we did commit to making agreement with them. We still want to see hundreds of hours of city staff hours being allocated to this and having it exceed the costs that we set aside. Because right now, the upfront cost is $1,283. If city staff starts setting aside moments of time, look up information for us, that does add up. So I guess I would make the motion that we accept this with the condition that city staff hours do not exceed 40 hours for the total study. Should it exceed that, that's my expectation is that the townships pay for that.
I would think Tom can manage that, manage his staff and time. You'll have the same information city staff has, I would imagine, so. And that would, in my opinion, fall under your, if you needed them to help you with something, that's one thing, but I would imagine you'd be doing the bulk of the gathering of the information. So I'll go ahead and second your motion, but I don't know, maybe, I'm not so sure that we need to micromanage how they do their job. You just try and be prepared. Understand?
I think sometimes we're accidentally thinking of that. We just need to set some guidelines to keep everybody with them.
Okay, how about this? If you say 40, up to 40 hours, and then you have to bring it back to council to explain what about 40 hours would be. It's just so it doesn't just quit.
I mean, if the townships want to pay for additional time, does it approve 80 hours more additional time, or do they go back? If you said it now, that the townships are going to be expected to go beyond 40 hours to pay for it. I might, sometimes I think that if you leave the door open, they will ask a billion questions because if you put a limit on it, it will become very, very precise in the information.
If you're thinking you need more time, I hope you come back so that it can be complete.
I have absolutely no idea at this point what all he's gonna want. Being honest, he was fairly vague, so they could get it done in a couple of trips with most. Said there will be other stuff that he'll need me to email him, so.
I mean, the one good thing is it's something he does on a regular basis, so it's probably, he's got a really good system down as well. Yeah. Kind of like our audit, you get
Most of everything he needs in one shot, that's great, but if he drags it out over 100 emails.
Right, we've got a motion filed to accept this with something that the expectation is no more than 40 hours of city staff time. Gina, is there any other? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we'll move on to item number 10.3, credit cards.
10.3 is just, we've been working our way through the policies we've updated. This is one that I updated and it's just got a couple changes and I redlined it stating the different people to contact, who's in charge of, who can issue, who can receive, that it's actually signed for. Because one thing we don't have is in place is if someone does have a city credit card, they've been signed for it. So now we'll have this in place where you sign for it, we have record of it. And who's allowed to make these changes. So it's just an update to the policy that was made back in 2011. Very few changes, just an update.
So any comments, concerns?
I would make a motion that we accept the changes to the credit card policy. I'll second.
Kyle? Some discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next up is item number 10.4, council action from gazebo roof.
Brock, do you want to speak or you want me to speak?
I guess just, is there any questions on it? I got 3 bids. Want to go with 10 like we have been on all the other ones. The guy that had the lowest bid was the same one we used at the beach for the 2 little shades. Obviously, the gazebo's in rough shape. I could kind of tell from the ground, but then got up there, it was disappointing, I guess. So, I just want to stay on top of this and get this going because it sounds like you could have it done for our department. It's just final approval, I guess, for you guys. Is this gonna be the only plan that you have this year? Because it looks like you're using up pretty much all your budget. Well, this is capital improvement, right? Don't have any other capital improvement plans for the rest of the year? No. Nothing big.
My only concern is that the low bid for the metal is so much significantly lower than the other metal bid roofs. Which I have concern, like $12,000 difference, $15,000 difference between the other 2 bids. How is this contractor able to provide that? My only concern. Because usually they're competitive, like this is what I'm saying.
That was gonna be my question too, and I feel reassured being you said that this company has done work for us in the past, the work has been standard.
Yeah.
Everything's holding on.
Go ahead and make a motion that we accept, it's Dennis Olson in the bids for $13,983.
I'll second. Yep.
Dina, second, Kyle, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Now, 10.5, request for appointment of Captain 2.
I can give you a copy of this, from the fire chief to approve Chris Holland for appointment to position of Captain 2. They did a required, interviews and we speak, Tom, or you want to just tell? It speaks for itself. This would allow the opening of the other position. If we approve it tonight, then that other position becomes open, which she can then start interviewing and taking applications for and moving forward with the open position.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to accept Tom's request to appoint Chris Holland Captain 2 for the remainder of the 2-year term.
Gina, second.
I'll second.
Second, Dave. Any further discussion? Is it none? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, next up, we move on to 11, community development and engineering. 11.1 is searching for solar energy network.
So in recent months, Planning Commission and City Council, you guys have all reviewed many solar panel reviews, which also do get reviewed by our building inspector and the state of Minnesota building people. They have very specific specifications that they have to have in order to even put these in. Last month at Planning Commission, a public hearing was held. No members of the community were present for it. Following a brief discussion, the commission voted unanimously to amend the ordinance to remove it from just going to Planning Commission. Anything that usually gets a recommendation from Planning Commission would come to council, so I believe that step would also be relieved of coming to you guys for review as well.
The requirement, they get their.
Correct. And like our building department, it would still require a zoning review. So it would still come to the city. We would still be made aware of it. I would still have to make sure that it is following our ordinance to a T. But it just wouldn't come to Planning Commission anymore.
Just to clarify, this is residential installations.
Yes, residential installations only.
would review it, River reviews it. Is it?
No, Adam doesn't review it.
Your thoughts on that?
I guess I've never had a part in, the solar reviews. They've never come across my desk.
Just wondering if there might be something that should be. I say,
The only part that I would really be concerned with would be, where the emergency shut off would be.
there's certain restrictions on that, on the shut off as far as the electrical code, so that's already covered, but they have to pass, an electrical inspection, that would be, the shut off would be covered by that. I know, I'm a master electrician, so I know that. So really, Kyle shouldn't have to worry about it, in my opinion.
Just got to be like, they're so overarching. The amount of engineering that goes into putting together a set of plans for residential installations. They're so heavily engineered. Like you stated, there's so many, it has to be done a certain way.
And I just like checks and balances. Sometimes if there's some bias catches something that nobody else foresaw. I think there's been incidents where people are just pencil swiped and tried to correct it later and then.
Right. So I will wait a second. I'll second. Dan.
Yes.
Tina.
Yes.
Dave. Kyle.
Yes.
And I will also vote. Fitness upswing. 665 11th Street Southwest.
So this is actually a conditional use permit and a site plan review of the same. In September of 2024, representatives from Public Works, City Administrator, the city planner, myself, our contracted services, SEH and Rum River, we met with the property owner to discuss a proposed development. During the meeting, the owner expressed his intention to construct two fourplex residential units on site. In early March, the property owner submitted applications for a building permit through Rum River along with a conditional use permit and site plan review. All relevant documentation was provided to SEH for their review as well as to the DNR due to the property's location within the 100-year floodplain. SEH provided their report with their recommendation in the planning memo that was presented at Planning Commission public hearing on April 23rd. We had two neighboring residents who attended the hearing and one expressed concerns to the project. During the meeting, the possibility of installing a fence along the north side of the property was discussed and the owner indicated he would consider it. It's also noted that the apartment units will not have individual patios. The commissioners voted and the proposal was approved.
Yeah. You know? Well, I have some concerns that this, it has been, under my impression, it's been. We get your name and your address. Okay. Mike Erickson, 655 11th Street, Southwest. I've lived in my residence since 2003. It's been a vacant lot since then. My concern is that's been zoned, as far as I know, single family home. Since either before guess I have some concerns. I did contact two realtors. One from Twin Cities and one from Forest Lake, and they said both of them agreed that my property is going to lose value. So, 2 to 3% away. And if this property isn't maintained, it's going to be more. So, who's going to pay me my 2 to 3% now, or choose to sell. It's, my value is a lot less. I'm gonna lose money. Also, I guess what height is the 100-year floodplain? Twice I've had to, once I got to the sandbank house, and another time it's really close. So there is some years there's a lot of runoff that pond increases in height like this. So hopefully if it gets built, we'll have building up high enough. But I also have a concern about runoff. As far as I know, cities are not allowed to direct their runoff to adjacent properties. So I have a concern about Quick Trip pushing their stormwater in that pond, because that's going to raise that pond, potentially flood my property and neighboring property. So I think that should be directed to stormwater drains instead of. That's a different. And I was wondering, is there a policy on amount of green space required for family homes or properties, for children to play or. I guess that's basically I'm against. I do not feel we need another multifamily home on that same street. There's already two. Mr. Calvin told me years ago the other one wasn't even supposed to be built. Sold property. So, or at least I would like to see a fence if it gets passed, but I said against it. We did talk to the neighbors over here, so I guess I'm not gonna speak for them, but I guess
The green space, what that brought up? I don't remember that when I was.
That part was not brought up at planning commission.
was there a requirement for so much green space for what I'm asking?
They do have something in here. It's gonna take me a minute to find it.
One other question, I was kind of wishing that Greg would have been here. When I look at it, because this is the first time I had read these recommendations, were pretty much options, his recommendations, options for the applicant to consider are to explore adjusting the layout, reduce the proposal to one fourplex building, or to subdivide the lot into two parcels if possible. I thought it was two.
Yes. According to what I know.
It's one parcel. It is one parcel.
I don't know what
Can
he
you tell us more about?
Well, he.
Go ahead and talk.
I was just gonna say the previous neighbor said he bought one parcel from the county and the other parcel from a private individual. It's one parcel had gone back to the county for taxes, I guess.
And
That was, he was telling me the truth. I don't know.
the second part of what Greg said was address items within this memo, including flood elevation requirements, label setbacks, and site plan, and submit plans for lighting, landscape, and refuge. Has that been done, Troy?
We spoke at the planning commission meeting. I know one of the concerns was lighting. He was, Mr. Erickson was concerned about lighting shining into his building, and I let him know that it's not going to be that kind of thing happening. Our lighting is in the front, washes the parking lot just for security for the tenants. And I will plan to give a photometric layout for that, displaying that exactly what we're going to be doing. And we have 3 other apartment buildings in town right now. I would love to build a regular, just single home dwelling on the property, but I don't know if you folks be able to follow the market that closely on this, but today's market for single home is ferociously expensive. And you're seeing more of a need for housing in the area, and this is one way to fill that need. We're gonna have new people coming in, working at Quick Trip, we're gonna be at the Aldi. And I'd love to build a house, but I don't want to sit on a speculation house for a long time. That would be awfully expensive.
If single family homes are more expensive, then that would validate my mind, Mr. Erickson's point that property values are gonna be driven down because you're putting in some expensive, cheaper values.
I'm adding value to this property already. I'm not gonna build something that's gonna look terrible. I want to appeal to my tenants. I want to build I will be building a nice, clean place that's well kept.
I am familiar with your properties. I do think that you do a nice job of them. I think multifamily locations have a place, but if we keep sticking them in single family residential areas, is our intent to replace all of our single family homes or neighborhoods with multifamily neighborhoods, or I think what's for long-term intent here?
I feel like if the zoning allows it, it's not up to the council to go case by case. If the zoning allows it and it fits all our requirements, the council can't just say, I'd rather have you build a home. So I don't think that's our job. So if we had a problem with the zone, I mean, you're telling me if it's the zoning.
It does. That's why he applied for the conditional use permit, and that is what is our requirement is to apply for a conditional use permit to put fourplex in.
Technically, the way the ordinance reads, there's supposed to be one main building on every property. This would be asking us to put two main buildings on one parcel. Not one parcel, it's one. And that was one of the things that was in the SEH report as well, is that the ordinance calls it out that way. This is simple as we have a stipulation. Split. Well, that was one of the recommendations to subdivide. Straightforward process with the county.
I think that can be done.
Is that like one a month?
Are we going to allow him to build the parking lot the same way that he currently has it? Because that would offset that parking lot and would have to move him. He would have to move the parking lot off the property line. Because this parking lot is currently shared.
Me not being on planning commission and this discussion of limited visuals that I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be.
Right.
Right, but so if you're saying there's only one way to divide it, and it won't work, we require the two parcels.
I do have pictures.
For you to look at it, right, how we have it laid out, it works very nicely to have the one driveway coming in shared for both properties, shared for both entities.
I do have it up here.
So that's what you're saying, the shared driveway.
This is the shared driveway.
But couldn't you still use that plan, but like,
If I need to go to the county and just say, okay, I want to split in half, I can do that. That's a really point.
And have a parking lot right up there.
Correct. Correct.
That would defeat the purpose of splitting up the property.
He would have to move off the property line. Per our ordinance.
Then I get easement from myself on both sides.
right, that's what I was thinking. There's
Like this proposal, I like, that can't be taken lightly. Especially tells us that, yes, in the R2 is zone R2.
Mhm.
In the R2 district, there are several other. What is speaking of? I think. I am in favor of this. make much in favor of it. It's a necessity in our city, and we need as much housing as we can have in our city right now. We're the eighth fastest growing city in the state, and second fastest growing county in the state, so I think bringing on housing options isn't just what the city of Pine City do right now, personally. That's just my opinion. I don't know necessarily the motive to get there.
And can you tell me again, planning commission's recommendation?
It passed.
They have any concerns? This is Greg's concerns, which I was.
Correct.
It seems like we're making a lot of so that's to accept something because we really, really want it at the detriment to somebody else. And we might really, really want housing, but we gotta, I know we get packed all our other housing, I mean, pick up a group away. I don't think that this exactly clearly fits into our objective here. I don't think there should be so many loopholes to jump through it. Take just because we really want something.
You're up. And these arguments that Greg, we're not arguments, the recommendations that Greg brings up, what did the planning commission think of that? Because I never really did that meeting I was at, so.
I was the only one, I believe, that had any concerns about following the recommendations from SEH. There was 4 of us, 2, 3, 4, or 5 of us in attendance. It's not even fully an issue. I was trying to call it out. So, well, and just again, I completely support housing. We need to have housing. We need to build it in any way that we can, but we also have ordinances in place for a reason. And, you know, again, Greg is a professional, SEH is a professional, I'm not. That's why I take their recommendations and what they say we should do to make it a viable project. Support.
Well, I agree with that too, and I also agree that when the planning commissions make some recommendation, I mean, we ask these people to vote and do the homework and to get to the stuff. And if we don't accept what they say, then what's the point in having them?
I think the important part though is that we're duly elected officials. Committees are all by the council, but they could have their own board of agendas. Doesn't mean, I mean, it's a recommendation. Council can support it or go against it. Don't feel it's in the best interest of people.
I mean, how much emphasis was put on the runoff from Quick Trip during this whole thing? Was that brought up at all? I mean,
That
point is important, I think.
that was all completely reviewed by SEH and MSA.
We did talk.
Mhm.
I know that there's some additional, they're building some additional ponds they handle for certainly. Yeah, the other concern is like how much over X and dirt we have. We're getting people below the level of the pond, like we don't really know because of the margins of high water mark. Provided. Again, I completely agree, we need housing. We also have ordinances and rules in place for a reason that it's important. Subdivided, do what we gotta do. And I also have concern with green space as well. This is a lot to lot project, it's line to line from corner to corner, it's built. So there's very little space left over for people to habitate other than
There should be a fair amount of space going to the west. And there still will be space on north and south beach.
but the area to the west goes straight down.
We're gonna be reshaping this entire lot. I know you have concerns about high water marks. We plan to review all soil, correct everything as needed, bring everything up to the proper level. I'll reference back to the civil engineer to make sure everything is done right. You won't have a problem with filling your yard with water. It's not gonna happen. You're gonna do it accordingly.
If the water is no longer sitting on the green space that is there, because it's developed and it's going into the pond. I mean, the water might not be going directly as runoff into the adjacent property, it might be coming. So,
We plan to take measures on whatever we have to do to correct that ground, because right now, the way it's shaped is, there has to be a lot of dirt work done there already. And we'll be importing soil.
I, just did some quick math in my head there. Here, and if we, that lot, if you were to split it up, you could potentially, with a 75-foot lot, would be 2.5 single family homes that could go on there, in my mind. And you see, these units are a whole lot bigger than a single family. See why they would allow 2.5 single family homes to go on this, and not allow 2. To go on this lot. Again, that's my personal opinion. This might be a
So we have to subdivide them up to 2.5.
bit. You don't ways to go on
great. Seems like we follow ordinances and committee recommendations when it's convenient for our own agenda, but we don't, this is about like else.
This is the first I had read these recommendations from Greg, and that bothers me that he's not here.
So Greg didn't fully do this review. He had conversations with us. It was supplied to SCH because SCH, being that it was in the floodplain, I submitted everything to them and asked them to do the review. At the time when it all came in, I was still learning about floodplain and elevations and that kind of stuff with the DNR. So this actually came mainly, I worked with Therese. I do know, obviously, it states Lori Miller and Greg Anderson on there. But she is another professional planner with SEH. I mean, they all work hand in hand together, and I believe that they said that there's an overflow in that pond that goes back over to the Snake River, right, Maury? Yeah, so if it gets so high, it flows back over.
concern.
But one more thing. When's that meeting stuff I can have? 3, but actually it was 4 family come to me and asked me to vote no on this. I had nobody come to me and ask me to vote. I'd feel a whole lot better if Greg was here and I could ask questions. I wouldn't mind tabling this for a month.
That your motion then to table.
I never made that noise yet. I don't know. I just, I hate to hold anything up either. I really do, but unfortunately, I'm not on the planning commission. So the only thing I got was the one session I was at, and that really didn't tell me a whole lot. And to be real frank with you, the amount of material that we have to look at as a council member is horrendous. And I can't spend a lot of time on stuff like this when I've got my committees that I have to spend time on. So I rely on recommendations and what the boards actually do. And we try to follow ordinance. I think it's important we follow ordinance. I don't 100% agree with you, Kyle, that we vary that for our own ambitions, but sometimes that does happen, or it appears to have happened. We don't. I don't know if you want to go through, if we have a motion. Anything else, or is no current?
Would make council comfortable, and I would also prefer tabling it and having Greg come home. So.
I guess when you throw stuff in there about splitting the stuff, and I know Troy said that, you know, it's probably just a formality, but I'd really like to quiz him a little more about this.
Are you gonna bring that back to a nighttime meeting or a daytime meeting?
Well, Greg doesn't come normally to our date. Am I right or wrong?
No, he comes to daytime meetings.
Sometimes, you know. Well, if you can get it there, I guess that's.
I don't wanna have it at a daytime meeting, I wanna have it at a nighttime meeting, because the people that want to represent seem to work at that daytime and like to be present, I'm guessing.
Well, it's been presented at both a daytime, oh no, it was just both evening, right?
Mhm.
Yep, it was both evening. I take it back.
I'll go ahead and make. Well, this until we do first meeting and do.
I'll second your motion to table.
Is that a daytime now or?
I start to next
That'd
time.
be evening.
Okay.
I'll be here.
Here.
Second, any further discussion?
It's Gina in a second.
For Jalen, please say by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next up, 11.20.